Which button am I supposed to push before I get?
So without further ado,
Is it this
yeah,
one?
so it's this one. Yep.
Oh, that's okay.
So there you go.
Okay. My turn, I guess. Okay. When Ponce de Leon was sailing around and he ended up on this land that we call Florida today, he looked at it and he called it La Florida. Now, La Florida means,
What the settings are.
okay,
This presentation setting, it's not recording on, it's not showing on Zoom.
anyway, La Florida means land of flowers. He came at a time that we would call Easter. And so you can think about Easter being March and April here in Florida, and there are lots and lots of things blooming, whether they're native, they're weeds, somebody planted them years ago, who knows, but it was lush with flowers. And so that's how we got our name, Florida, meaning land of flowers. There are over 3,500 species of different wildflowers in Florida. 12 of them are our state flower. Our state flower is the Coreopsis or tickseed, but it's Leavenworth. There's a difference. There are 12 of the 15 species of Coreopsis here in Florida. There are none anywhere else in the world, but right here. So I imagine we are exporting Coreopsis seeds, tick seeds, very easily done. If you have any in your garden, you know they kind of find empty spaces where you want them or don't want them. The Florida Department of Transportation had a program that they created in 1963. It was provided, and the procedure was to reduce mowing in the middle of the highways. Now, I grew up in Ohio, and we called those the devil strips. I don't know what you call them here or any other place I've ever lived. I always continued with devil strips. Those flowers reduced mowing by 10%. That was the goal. It has since been up to 25%. They added pollinators, and they also added habitats. And that was their goal by just throwing out seeds. So when you see a sign that says no mowing or no spraying, or you look out on the devil strips between the two highways and you see flowers blooming, you can thank the Department of Transportation. The first weekend, or the first whole week of May, has been designated as National Wildflower Week. So Florida has a long history of wanting flowers to be important to the state itself. Before we get started on what flowers go where and why, we have to talk about Florida friendly. Right plant, right place. If you want your plants to grow, you put them in the right place. If you water them efficiently, because they are wildflowers, they don't need as much water as you may think. Fertilizing, if you are in your yard, you fertilize wildflowers differently than you would fertilize your lawn or your foundation plants. So I'm going to tell you some of the hints about how do you fertilize wildflowers. Mulch everything, and that helps keep the water around the roots. It helps keep weeds down, and sometimes it will keep the critters from digging up around your plants. When you plant a plant, don't use blood meal or bone meal. That tells the animals, here I am, come and get me, I'm food. Squirrels in your yard, the first thing they'll go for is that bone meal or blood meal that you put in before you put in your flowers. So try to avoid that whenever possible. You're going to attract wildlife. Make sure that's what you want to do. Think about where you are placing your flowers, where you're going to place your bird feeders, where you're going to place your bird baths. If your yard is wide open, that may not be a problem. Keep in mind that you have armadillos, you have rabbits, you have raccoons, you have deer, you have rats, you have cats. Think about all of those things when you are making a garden and what you are putting in that garden. If you're attracting animals, make sure you are planting for the animals that you want to attract. Okay, this is the state flower of Florida, Tickseed. The Leavenworth is what we normally see planted along the highways and byways. They're a short-lived perennial, which means once they bloom, they're done. If we get a very, very, very bad frost, they will not reseed. They will just die. However, if you have mulched and after they have been spent and some of those seeds are underneath the mulch, they may be protected enough that they will come back. So don't go in your mulch and kind of start digging around until after about the 15th to the 1st of March and see what's coming up. You may be surprised. There may be something underneath there that you're didn't think you would have. The Tickseed or Coreopsis need full sun. It's not going to go underneath your oak tree and it's not going to go underneath your pine trees. They need some type of moist soil to reseed. That doesn't mean that it's puddled. You never want puddling. So be careful when you're watering these if they are on a drip irrigation rather than your lawn irrigation. That is the best thing to do. The next wildflower is St. John's wort, which really isn't a plant. It's a foundation plant. It's a shrub. It's evergreen in Florida. Yay, something that stays green all year round. It does bloom all summer long with nice yellow flowers. Full sun, you can push it a little bit to part shade, but be careful how far you push into the shade. It likes a sandy soil, and I live at the beach, so sandy soil is what I've got. If you don't have a sandy soil, adding sand, adding vermiculite, adding perlite can help break up that clay that you may have in your yard. This is also used as a foundation plant. As I said, it was a shrub. This is one of my favorites, the Liatris or blazing star. It's 4 feet tall. If you over-fertilize it, it gets to be 6 feet tall, but then it bends down to 4 feet tall. You don't want to over-fertilize it because it will fall down, it will bend, and that's not what you want. You want those spikes. That's what's so beautiful about this plant is all those purple spikes. If you overwater it, if it's 4 feet tall, if it's 6 feet tall, it's still going to bend down. It can't handle all of that water. Excuse me. It is a nectar plant, which is great for your pollinators, your butterflies, hummingbirds. Watch a hummingbird. Try and get his little beak inside those little flowers of the blazing star. It's very interesting. He may try 1 or 2 and go around to different plants until he finds one that is open enough for him to get out the nectar. Full sun, must be in full sun. It can adapt itself to a drought, which is kind of neat since some of us have drought seasons here in Florida. Again, drip irrigation on your flower beds. Best thing that they ever invented, or a soaker hose that has very little flow out of it will also work. Spotted bee balm. I just went out today and I cut off all of last season's growth. Now my bee balm is about 3 feet tall, so I'm not in any danger of it dying back because it was frosted. It never never frosted. So I just cut back all the other stuff, and it's nice and green and lush. It's okay, and it likes to be trimmed back, so it's my favorite plant. Because if I get clippers in my hand, I clip everything in my yard. And bee balm is one that says, "Oh, here I am, come trim me." So I do. It promotes blooms. Again, it is about 3 feet tall. The blooms can be maybe another foot. Don't over fertilize, don't over water. Full sun, again, part shade. Mine is between 2 bushes, so it does all right. It's in front of them, but it's 2 bushes and then the bee balm in front of that. It's called striped. If you look at the flowers on it, you can see that they're pink and white stripes. The next one, this is where the questions are going to come. This is not ragweed. This is goldenrod. This is where knowing the species is very, very important. This is Salidago. This is not ragweed that you become allergic to, that you sneeze all summer long. This is Salidago. This is used in flower arrangements. So if you get a flower arrangement and say, oh my gosh, it's got ragweed in it. No, it doesn't. It looks similar to ragweed, but it is not ragweed. And it is nice and golden in color. It is tall. Once again, it blooms all summer long. It's beautiful. Don't over fertilize. Don't over water. The same thing will happen. They will just droop. They spread by rhizomes, and rhizomes would be the little roots that you see. If you pick it up, it won't have a bulb, but it will have a long, hard, looks like similar to a sweet potato, you might say. That is called a rhizome. This plant needs lots of room because that rhizome goes here. Next minute, it's over here. Then it's over here. It just keeps spreading. If you don't want it to spread, chop off the rhizome and take it out of the garden. Don't leave it in the garden. Just because you've divided it doesn't mean it's going to die. It means it's just going to divide over here and grow. So be careful of that. It can be drought tolerant. It is also cold tolerant. I didn't say freeze tolerant. I said cold tolerant. So if it's, 30, 35, it's okay. If we get below that and in the morning when the frost and the dew is on the ground and it's been freezing in the 20s, this probably will not survive. This is another one of my favorite plants called the blanket plant or Indian blanket. Some of you may have heard that term, Indian blanket. If you notice along the freeways on the hillsides, you will see this blanket flower blooming everywhere. Doesn't seem like anybody can kill it. It is drought tolerant. It's heat tolerant. It doesn't care about watering. It just wants to exist. Mine are still blooming. I have it in a pot. And even though the freeze, I didn't cover it for the freeze, I still have a couple blooms on it. Now, do not deadhead this. This is a mistake that you make with blanket flowers. With, oh, it looks terrible. It's that little brown thing and it's a little gray and it's got fuzzy and it really looks terrible. That's the seed. And if you deadhead it, it will not reseed itself. So if you want to deadhead it and then just spray those seeds around where you want them to be, whether it's in a pot or on the ground around it. But don't deadhead it. You want it to be, well, maybe you don't want it to be. It's up to you. If you want it to spread, fine. If not, then that's not what you want to do with it. Florida is into wildflowers. As I said, they had this decided in 1968 to do something about it. Well, they did something about it. They made a license plate just for you. It says Wildflowers. This is the old one. This is the first wildflower license plate. You can buy the license plate. There's a fee, one-time fee for the license plate. And then from then on, you have a renewal. So you pay whatever your renewal is for your car plus $15 more. The $15 goes to the Wildflower Foundation of Florida to help with seeding and planting all the highways and byways. That's the first one. I thought it was pretty good. It does say Coreopsis. They're trying to tell you that what the flower in the middle is a Coreopsis. Maybe. Here's the one we have today. This is the latest one. This one came out in 2018. A woman by the name of Gaillardia from Lake Wales, Florida, designed this. She has her own design and marketing firm, and there was a contest. They invited people to come and make a design. So we have Wild Florida. Again, if you look up to the side, it says Coreopsis. The yellow Coreopsis is the Leavenworths Tickseed. The pink one is the swamp Tickseed. Tickseed. I don't think we've seen the pink one very often. We usually see the yellow ones. Very handy, very nice. Support both wildflowers that you're interested in, promote wildflowers, and also the state of Florida. The $15 helps to reseed everything that we have. I went to the store because I have seen containers of wildflowers, seeds. Go sow the seeds, buy it for $1, whatever, $2.95, whatever. So I decided when I went to the dollar store that I would buy some wildflower seeds. I thought it was pretty good. This one is birds and butterflies. This one is pollinators, and this one is sunny area. I thought that sounds good. I just kind of sow them out. They tell you how to sow them. But that was pretty good. Then I decided to see, wonder what's in them. Because you sow them and you always get one plant, maybe two plants. What happened to the rest? Well, let me tell you what happens to the rest. Okay, the first thing that's in there is called a pot marigold. Now, I chose a few that were common to all three packets. So I didn't do every single flower or seed that's in there. I only did a few that were kind of common to both of them. The first one was a pot marigold. That's okay. It's a pot marigold. It's native to Europe. Well, fine. Not all plants were hybridized or even brought here. Okay, the next one was a baby's breath. Well, I thought, well, that sounded pretty good. It's invasive. We're not supposed to be planting it. Now, I will say this much. The baby's breath that they have is the elegans. So know the species of baby breath. There may be one out there that is okay to plant and it's not invasive. But the elegans that we have in these packets are invasive, and you're not planting them. Invasive means that they snuff out other plants that we want. The next one was cornflower, also known as bachelor buttons. So there's a little difference there. And the cornflower one was invasive, but they're in those. We wouldn't know that, and you wouldn't know that, and I wouldn't know that unless I went through and Googled a few of the plants to see what was in there. The next one is a Siberian wildflower, and it's not considered invasive in North America, but it's considered invasive in Europe. So I don't know what we're doing that they're not doing, but it's okay for us to do it. And the Shasta daisy. We all like Shasta daisies. And they're native to France and Spain. So far, so good. It's not invasive. And if you think about it, out of all that list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plants, 2 of them, the pot marigold and the Shasta daisy, are probably the 2 that are going to come up the most out of all of these plants. So my advice, read a little bit, Google it while you're in the store, or just plant some wild plants that you know are not invasive, that you can find in the store. There are lots of seeds out there. If you're not sure whether it's invasive or not, just Google it while you're in the store. Obviously, they're not going to Google all of this. And so they don't know. They're just making this up. And it may not be invasive in California, but it's invasive in Florida. It may not be invasive in Alaska, but it may be invasive in Michigan. So they just kind of, in general, will do something like this. So be careful when you're buying things like this. Not sure it's fun, but again, you only get 1 or 2 flowers usually, different plants that you see. This is a reference sheet. Where do I find what it is? How do I know what it is? What does it look like? Where does it grow? Where can I plant it? Does it have a companion plant? Does it attract butterflies? Does it attract for hummingbirds? What does it do? Well, I found a few things on the reference sheet here. Floridata, exactly what it says. It's a Florida plant list. Common names, the plant type, and whether it features the leaf and the flowers. So if you look up Floridata, you will find this information. Most of the time when you zero in on a plant, it will give you a picture of that flower and the leaves most of the time. You can put in the common name and they will give you the genus and the species. The species is very important. It tells you whether it grows here. It also tells you whether it's invasive. And that's what you need to know. The University of Florida IFAS I represent the University of Florida IFAS. I'm a master gardener to the University of Florida. All master gardeners in the state of Florida are master gardeners where the program is administered through the University of Florida. The Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences, when we say IFAS, is our search engines. Anything you want to know from raising chickens to raising an orchid, it's in IFAS. Go to IFAS. They have all kinds of information and pamphlets that you can see. Solutions for your life. This is another search engine through the University of Florida. So, solutions for your life. I want an evergreen plant that doesn't get more than 3 feet tall. You put that in the little search engine once you pull up solutions for your life, and it will give you bulletins or tell you where to go. Now, the last time I told someone about solutions for their life, they wanted to know if did that take care of teenagers? I didn't know, afraid not. Divorce? No, can't do that. Cheating husbands? No, doesn't do that. Will I get a better job? It doesn't do that. It's only plants and flowers and shrubs. Okay, sorry, folks. That one, she caught me off guard on that one. I was really surprised. The Florida Wildlife Foundation. They take care of planting, pollinators, research, and resources. And they have webinars and they have field trips. If you Google, you will find all kinds of information, things you never knew you needed to know. But the webinars are really very professionally done, very interesting, very informative. And the field trips are great as long as you're a member of the Florida Wildlife Foundation. The Department of Transportation is out there working for you. I know I hit several potholes coming here, and that didn't seem like they were working for me. And I don't have a light at my intersection. They've been promising a light for 6 months. We still have no poles and no lights, but we're getting one. But they are working to make your state beautiful, putting out wildflowers. So I think that is something that to their credit. And the last thing I want to mention as far as resources go, the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center in Austin, Texas. Have any of you ever been there? Nobody? You need to go. It's a great field trip. Okay. Don't go right now. It seems that Texas is having a lot of bad weather. But the Wildlife Foundation, Lady Bird Foundation, they do give tours. You have to go ahead of time and make arrangements for tours and see their hours. They have research buildings, and they have research plots of flowers, trees, anything that grows. And that was Lady Bird Johnson's idea when her husband was in office. She needed a platform, and she had always liked flowers. So she decided that in Texas, we would do the bluebells. And if you've ever been to Texas, you know, in the spring, there's bluebells, and they are beautiful. And they're just fields and fields. They're wildflowers, and they're fields and fields of bluebells. At West Virginia University, we had bluebells in our arboretum. So every year when we had the nature walks in the spring, we always waited until we saw the bluebells, and then we started our wildflower walks because the bluebells are just absolutely gorgeous. So if you ever get a chance, go to Lady Bird Johnson's Center for Wildflowers. If you go to their website, they have the plant name, both common and scientific. They give you the state or province where that plant will grow. They give you the habitat and its general appearance, the duration. Will this plant be an annual, a perennial? We don't know. They're going to tell you. Light requirement, soil requirement, moisture requirement. Does it bloom? How tall does it get? What color is it? All kinds of information. So you don't have to go to a nursery and say, I don't know. Go to the website. I know my kids always say, Mom, Google it. And I'm sure you've heard that from your kids or your grandchildren. Google it. And that is a good place to start. What do I want to put in my yard? What do I want to do with it? Right plant, right place, and you will absolutely have success in growing flowers, wildflowers. Almost everything you grow in your garden is a wildflower. I was just mentioning that I learned that a zinnia is a wildflower. I didn't think so, but it said zinnias are wildflowers. From the Florida Foundation, Wildflower Foundation, you can order a booklet called 20 Every Easy to Grow Wildflowers. It's a booklet from the Florida Department of Wildflowers. All kinds of information. It is well worth it. Florida Wildflower Foundation. Then I have this, which I received from IFAS when I was in Gainesville. Now, not all of those grow in this part of Florida. They are beautiful plants. There's orchids, there's trees. They tell you what grows where and how it grows. All of you, or most of you, should have this little booklet that's available to you. Hey, this again is from the Wildflower Foundation. It gives you the butterfly and then its plant. The zoo has a butterfly house where they grow most of the plants, and you can see all the different butterflies there. I mentioned that IFAS and Solutions for Your Life. This is one of the publications. It says wildflowers for all seasons, and then it tells you February, March through May, spring and summer. And then this one is June, August, and September to November. And they show you the wildflower in color. So you can go on to Solutions for Your Life or go into IFAS. And then common native wildflowers for Florida. This is a whole list of common wildlife. But you live in North Central Florida and you are in 9A, 9B zone. You can push 8B, you can push 10A, but you have the most success if you stay in your zone of 9B. We've switched zones. Some of us have and some of us haven't. It's just easier to remember that we're 9B and stick with that, and that works pretty well. When you are buying plants in a nursery, read the labels. They will tell you what you need to know, and if they don't, you ask. Most of the nurseries around Jacksonville are very knowledgeable. Ask them, and if they don't know, then you don't need to be at that nursery maybe. Maybe you need to know a nursery that knows what they're doing. And maybe that particular person does not know. You just ask another person at the nursery. But there's always someone at a nursery that is very, very knowledgeable in what's going on. Wildflowers. Good luck. Remember, right plant, right place, and you'll have a great success. Questions?
All right, I'm going to come out to you, but first I'm going to put you full screen so we
Okay.
can,
Okay. Go ahead and ask your question.
hold on, I want to get them on,
Oh, okay.
could you spotlight her camera for me?
Native milkweed as opposed to tropical milkweed. What's the difference between the two, and what kind of detrimental effects can tropical milkweed have, especially with migrating monarch butterflies? Can we find some
Okay.
native milkweed?
Okay, let's do one at a time here. There's several questions there, and I remember we said we talked about that. All right, on April 1st, April Fool's Day, and it's no April Fool's, the Master Gardeners of Duval County are having their annual plant sale. And we are growing native milkweed. So if you're interested in native milkweed, once it's established, is easy to grow, but it is difficult to get it established. That's part of its problem. Whether it's the difference between the big box and the native does not have any of the how can I put that? It doesn't have any of the bad stuff in their DNA, let's put it that way. If you get milkweed from a big box store and you have pollinators going to it, which is fine, it does collect, and attract, but then you'll see a butterfly that only has half a wing maybe, or it's not quite formed. And that can be because of some insecticide that may have been used close by or was in the seed when they grew it. That's not to say all milkweed is that way. It's just that some can be. So that's the difference between growing native and then getting it at another source. But both of them are still good for monarchs. I could not say from my yard that there's a monarch shortage. I have a butterfly box, and last year we must have released 25 monarch butterflies, along with all the other butterflies we have in our garden. So in my yard, I have lots and lots of monarchs. Maybe in my next door doesn't have any, but in my yard, I have lots of butterflies. Your best bet is to go with the native if you can find it. Yes, sir.
Do you ever recommend cutting it down a certain time of year, the tropical milkweed, if you do decide to grow it in your yard?
Okay, you cut down the weed in around September, October, cut it down to the ground. It comes right back up. Okay. Mine is about 12 inches tall by now, and I cut it way back. But it started to grow. Even in the frost, it started to grow. So it does pretty well. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, thank you. I'm novice gardener over here. Someone close to me is convinced that full sun means something different here because it's so hot. Could you opine on that, or like what full sun means versus partial sun in terms of picking the right spot?
Okay, that's a good point. When we say full sun, you're in Florida. Kind of scary. If it says part sun, we definitely need to get it out of what we consider full sun, no shade, no nothing. It's just out there in the middle of your yard, so to speak. You can put it in front of or around trees, spaces, palm trees, bushes that are not so tightly wound. In other words, putting it underneath the ligustrum and it needs full sun isn't going to work. That's too much shade. But maybe putting it in front of the ligustrum where you have some of the background would be shaded. Also remember, when you're doing full sun, don't put it next to your brick house. That's too hot, or it's already too hot, and your brick house holds heat. Also, if you have flowers in pots, if you use clay pots in full sun, you need to water the pot a couple times a day. If you water the plant and not the pot will soak out the water from the plant. That's what they're porous. That's what clay pots do. So water the pot first, then the plant, so that you keep the water in the plant. Again, full sun is dangerous. I was trying to think what really wants full sun, and I'm not too sure because we don't even like full sun. But that's the way it goes. You experiment in your yard. What we say before you start planting in your yard is for a week, you take a book, a notebook, and you stand in the same place in your yard every day at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Where's the sun? And you document that. So the first day you may do 9, 12, and 3. The next day you may do 10, 1, and so on. But you document where the sun is and where the heat of the day is and plant accordingly. That's the right plant, right place. Did that answer?
Good advice. Oh,
I have been documenting where the sun is. And there's and also it's like the winter, not the summer. So I'm new in this house, so I haven't really seen a full year. So I recognize that will also impact things. But basically, due to the house and some other stuff, most of the yard is the front yard is completely in the shade until like 11, and then it kind of starts to creep up from the street towards the house as the day goes on. But I guess, when I think about full sun, I'm thinking about that. Like I don't have any sun at all in the early morning, but starting kind of midday and then onward into the end of the day is when I have sun.
That's considered part shade, part sun.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah, figures it.
Hey, you mentioned, of course, the importance of mulch. Do you have a preference? I mean, I've read pros and cons of all different types of mulch. So as our environment friendly, what would be your choice?
Mulch is your preference. The only thing I can say is do not use rubber mulch. It was a fad for a long time, a fad that everybody was using rubber mulch because it didn't decompose. And if I could only put it down once, isn't this great? But it holds heat. And so they couldn't burn the roots of your plants. So don't use rubber mulch. Another mulch was Melaleuca. A few years back, they imported Melaleuca trees down South Florida to absorb the water so that they could build on these wetlands. And they found that the Melaleuca tree was invasive. So they were cutting down Melaleuca trees. What to do with it? They were selling it in the South Florida and also here, and then they would import it up to North Florida for mulch. That's your preference.
Well, it seemed like for that the black mulch has been, so popular. And then I read articles about, well, that's dyed mulch. So that's not necessarily good for your plant or the environment. So are you saying,
It's the natural is the best.
so not the red, not the black?
Then that's your,
Pine, I used last year the pine bark because I heard that disintegrates. So.
that's your preference. Whether you use pine mulch, whether you use regular mulch, whether it's cedar mulch or whether it's nuggets, pine nuggets, whether it's red, brown, we don't recommend that you use the dyed mulches. And keeping in mind that mulch is to keep the moisture in. And so you have to be careful putting down mulch that will keep so much moisture in that you'll rot the plant out, or that it will take so much heat that it will burn the roots of the plant. So be careful. 3 inches of mulch is what we say to put around your plants and your shrubs, but 15 inches from the foundation of your house for termites. So there's some guidelines, but the mulch that you use is your preference. Just know what you're using. Have some information on that.
And no cypress mulch, right? That's bad, right?
It's your choice. There are some things that some people will use them, some people will not. Some people have reasons for using it, some people do not. So yes, you're right.
It's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable. That's the thing that they don't like about it. It's not sustainable.
Right.
When you're using mulch, a little trick that we've used in my yard for the last 20 years is putting down big chunks of mulch. Not that I don't like the shredded ones because I go barefooted. The shredded mulch doesn't work on my feet. So we use the big chunks of mulch. And I put that down, my 2 inches of that. And it doesn't take very much because they're big, bulky mulch nuggets. Then I put the smaller nuggets on top, so it looks like icing on the cake. How much nicer it looks than the big mulch. And so that's how I take care of it. The bigger mulch is slower to decompose. So that also helps. I don't have to add it every single year. So, people use a variety, put down cardboard, then put down mulch, put down like newspaper, and then do that. It's up to you. Any other questions? Just shout, I'll hear
Going
you.
back to his milkweed question, and you said, your preference is the native. And when I buy plants, I always go to the nurseries that only cater to our natural zone plants. How do you know if they're really telling you the truth that, for instance, that milkweed is really native or from some nursery that's mass producing them?
Know your species. Know the species of the milkweed.
What
Let me see if I
milkweed is it
have
called?
the,
Okay.
is it on your pamphlet? Maybe in one of these pamphlets, it'll tell you when you get, well, yeah, look on your folder here. I'm not sure I can pinpoint it real quickly.
There's a website.
Okay, there's a white swamp milkweed and it's Alopecia perennius. That's what you need to know. Okay, it's Alopecia perennius. That's what you need. It's a genus and it's species. The genus says that it's milkweed. The species tells you which one of those milkweeds it is. And so that would be a way you would know that it is swamp milkweed, which is what you would want. That's a native. Oh, okay. The card is from the Department of Wildflowers. Okay, Florida Wildflower Center. They used to be $1, probably not anymore. My advice is when you are going to meetings like this or other places where you see them, pick them up because they're free. Okay, these are free to you for the night. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Commenting on the native species. There's a great website called FANN.org, where you can use a drop down column on the right side of the website, and you can click on the county that you're in, and it'll show you different native nurseries, and you can contact that nursery and ask them specifically, do you have native milkweed or any other native species of wildflowers or trees or small trees or shrubs or anything like that. But it's a really good website called FANN.org, and you can just go there and you can find local native nurseries that are selling certain native species of plants. So
If you come to the Duval County Master Gardener plant sale on April 1st, we have everything labeled, and you will see an N on, if this is native milkweed, it will say milkweed and then give you the genus and the species, and then it will have an N on it to mean that it's native. And so we know that it's native. So there's another place on April 1st to come for native plants at all. Excuse me? April 1st at Duval County Extension Office, which is at 1050 McDuff. Yeah, Commonwealth, it's at the corner of Commonwealth and McDuff. It'll be in the auditorium. You'll see the traffic jam. And we're having a preview on Friday night for the sale. It's $10, was it? I think for the preview night. It'll be out in a flyer for sure. I'm not quite sure about that. Question, who? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. I'm interested in lantana. I know that there is invasive lantana and there's native lantana. And I've looked up pictures and stuff, and I can't quite tell the difference. And I am not sure if it's all color. You know, like, are the natives a pale yellow and the invasive ones are the brighter red and pink? And do you know, how do I tell?
I don't know that answer. What I would have to do would be what I would suggest to you, go in, Google it, Mom, and, lantana, and ask for the color, or go into the, you can go into Floridata. That will tell you. Also, the Florida Wildlife Foundation will also tell you whether it's native. Those will work. And I have a feeling that probably the Lady Bird Johnson, which is a massive, massive bank, might tell you the same thing in more detail.
Okay.
But tell her the zone that you're in and what you're in, and that would help. But again, since, I would have to Google it and same, but I want to give you a search engine so you can do that.
Any other questions in the audience? I think we might have one online. All right, we have, is there another resource to look up invasives besides UF-IFAS assessments? I'm not seeing the GYSOPHILLIA, elegant, a baby's breath, or Centuria cyanus cornflower. Bachelor's buttons listed there as invasive. So some confusion about what's invasive and what's not. I
Okay.
think that you just answered that question, but
Right.
the other one.
The cornflower that I have was the Centuria elegans, and that is considered invasive. Now, when I looked it up in Florida on Florida's website. So
Yes.
that's what told me it was
So
invasive.
yeah, knowing what the source of your website is, because you want to
Right.
get it from, the state where you live.
Okay. All right. Now, there is a little trick. If you've looked everywhere and you still aren't satisfied with what you've found, or that you haven't found any information, if you put in, I don't know, put in cornflower. You put in the word cornflower.edu. The .edu gets you to a search research engine. EDU is the educational component of any of the research that is done. Like, and when you go into Florida, it's EDU. So if you go into cornflower.edu, you should be able to pull up, or it should come up, information on the cornflower that has been researched and is research based. So anything with EDU will help you do that. Another little trick of information. The more information we have, the better off we can be. So that's another one. Yes, sir.
Okay, last question. We're gonna give it to you.
if you Google IFAS assessment, your very first website that comes up is University of Florida IFAS, and you can type in the species name and it'll tell if it's invasive or native. So that's a really good website that I use too.
Yeah.
So
The red light is invasive. The green light is just go ahead and plant it. The yellow light is, depending on where you live.
So IFAS assessments.
It's IFAS
That's very
assessment,
good
right? Red, green, and
advice.
yellow, I think is how it works. And it's the red light says it is invasive. The green light is okay. The yellow light, they're not sure. And it probably depends on your area too, on the yellow light. Oh, yeah.
All right. I
Yeah.
know that there's probably tons more questions out there, but Mary will hopefully, be able to stay a couple minutes and answer the last ones. But first, I want you all to give her a big round of applause for sharing her knowledge.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Mary.
you.
And then I want to just tell everybody, if you're here in person, we really want you to take the survey that she gave you. And then I'm also going to ask you to take our survey as well. If I can get to it, because there's so much going on here. There we go. So the UFIFAS wants you to take their survey, and they definitely need that data. We also, the Garden Club wants you to take a survey, and you can take it by scanning this with your phone. We'll also send you the link tomorrow, but you can go ahead and take it tonight. Why wait till tomorrow when you can do it tonight? It's very simple, couple of questions, 4 out of 5, that kind of thing. We definitely want your feedback. It's important to us. We want to know how we're doing. We want to know your ideas for future. So please take that survey. We'll also send you the link. We're also giving you the link on the Zoom program. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. I want to thank the Jessie Ball DuPont Fund one more time. I want to thank all of our staff for being here with us. I want to thank all of you for being here. Once again, thank Mary Longanbach. We really appreciate all of you being here. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you. You can stop.